Chapter 1. The Arrival. The old plantation stood silent. It was shrouded in an eerie mist. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Sarah and Eli, a young couple seeking a fresh start, arrived at their new home. They had heard stories about the house, but nothing could have prepared them for the overwhelming sense of foreboding that greeted them. The house exuded an unsettling aura. Sarah felt a shiver crawl down her spine. Every creak of the floorboards seemed to echo with the whispers of the past. "It's charming," Eli said, trying to break the tension. He wrapped an arm around Sarah, hoping to ease her discomfort, but the unease lingered in the air. Sarah forced a smile, her unease growing. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone, that the house was watching them, waiting. Later that day, while exploring the overgrown gardens, they stumbled upon it. A weathered garden gnome half hidden in the weeds. Its presence was unexpected, almost as if it had been deliberately placed there to be found. Its eyes seemed to follow them. The gnome's gaze was unnerving, and for a moment they both felt a chill run down their spines. It was as if the statue was alive, silently observing their every move. Chapter 2. Whispers in the night. That night, a storm raged outside. The wind howled through the old plantation, shaking the very foundations of the house. The trees swayed violently, their branches scratching against the windows like skeletal fingers trying to get in. Sarah lay awake, her heart pounding in her chest. She listened to the unsettling creaks and groans of the house, each sound amplified by the storm outside. The old wooden beams seemed to be whispering secrets of their own. She could have sworn she heard whispers coming from just beyond the bedroom door. The soft, unintelligible murmurs sent chills down her spine. She strained her ears, trying to make out the words, but they remained elusive, like ghosts in the night. Each time she closed her eyes, the gnome's haunting image filled her mind. Its eyes seemed to follow her, glowing eerily in the flashes of lightning. She couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching her, waiting for something. The next morning she found Eli in the garden. The storm had passed, leaving the air fresh and crisp. The first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow over the wet grass. He stood frozen, staring at the gnome, now inexplicably moved to the center of the overgrown fountain. His face was pale, and his eyes wide with fear. The gnome's sinister grin seemed even more menacing in the daylight, as if mocking them both. Chapter 3. The First Victim. This is where our story takes a dark turn, leading us into the chilling events that unfolded on that fateful evening. Grant, the gardener, arrived later that day. He had been working at the estate for years, but something felt different this time. The air was thick with an unsettling silence. Sarah watched from the window as Grant approached the gnome, a puzzled look on his face. She'd always found the gnome peculiar, almost as if it had a life of its own. He reached out to touch it, his hand trembling slightly. The gnome's eyes seemed to follow his every move, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The gnome sprang to life, its eyes glowing with a sinister light. Grant stumbled back, his heart racing, as he tried to comprehend what he was seeing. Sarah screamed, her voice echoing through the empty house. She couldn't believe her eyes. The gnome was moving, and it was coming for Grant. Blood stained the gnome's tiny hands. It was a horrifying sight, one that would be etched into Sarah's memory forever. It turned its head towards the house, its cold, lifeless eyes locking with Sarah's. She felt a chill run down her spine as the gnome seemed to acknowledge her presence. To be continued.